But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
You have part of my attention. You have the minimum amount.
I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
You got a lot of problems, don't you?
Oh, it's good to be back.
I don't know. You don't know?
It means all go fuck yourself.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
You can't handle the truth.
65. I decided to get rid of those terrible panelists I've had for the past 2 months. They never paid rent. They overstayed their welcome. They were disrespectful. They tried to tell me how to run my show. I'm back to normal weeks. And this is not going to go anywhere the way I think it's planned. Basically, I don't think there wasn't a direct definition. What was put on the Facebook page, what is now, who knows what we're going to see. You bring your list, you defend it, let's have some fun. First on the show, Koho put in the post, probably shared the most wins and losses on the show. Brian, how do you feel like you're going to do tonight? You and Eames basically come up with a topic. Ian's told me we should do it. You actually put it on the Facebook page. So how do you feel like tonight's going to go?
I feel like it'll be interesting. Like I said, like you already mentioned, I think we all defined it a little bit differently. Like especially when I saw, Knives Out on the thumbnail, I'm like, oh, I interpreted this differently because I was thinking of ones that didn't get sequels that should have, as opposed to ones that might still get them. I only bring that up because there's a couple on mine I put very low on the list because they might still happen, and that might have affected that. But whatever, it's a list. I
mean, Knives Out's going to get one. Like, I don't know why that was a thumbnail.
Yeah, it's already planned.
Why it's a thumbnail? Because Koho. TWOHIG.
Hey, is there going to be a La La Land sequel?
You're here. I don't know if you watch actually other movies than Fandom movies, but how do you feel like you're going to do tonight?
Well, 9 of my movies are Fandom movies, so that's okay. I'm just kidding.
That's fair.
I think I'll be good. I've been on here once. I'm 1 for 1, but I know for a fact Cody does not like some of my picks, so it's going to be a fun night. Can't wait.
Dude, we're starting off with the hottest start ever. We have not even been live for a total of 3 minutes, and we have 2 dislikes. We are killing it, boys.
Dislikes.
All right, Spence, you won't bring any controversy whatsoever. Last time you were on here, you told us that we wish kids in the animated movie would have died. So how are you going to do tonight?
Well, when you start out like that, I'm doomed to fail. So I can't wait to have the worst list again.
Really quick. Anybody that wants to own up to the dislikes, I will bring you on the show and we'll do an entire episode dedicated to you so you feel wanted and accepted. Eames!
Yeah.
I don't like you when you're a manager. I don't know if I like you on the show, but how do you feel like you're going to do tonight? This is the first time appearance for one Thomas Eames. So,
well, given our history, I'll probably lose badly. Well, I mean, I picked my list. There's a lot of films that I really would like to see a sequel for, but I stuck with things that had like unresolved plot threads or unexplored worlds that they never really reached their full potential. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a lot of different lists.
Well, one's already starting off real strong with put on a Hawaiian shirt of a faction that was announced today. So we're going to start it off with the person that's against factions that joins factions. Give us your 10, 9, 8.
All right. Number 10, I have Scott Pilgrim versus the World. One that never gets talked about in this community. Number 9, I have Trick or Treat. And number 8, I have Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. As Nick just laughs. All right. So Scott Pilgrim is one that I actually probably would have put much higher, except that I think that the author and director have said they're going to probably do some kind of follow-up, although it's probably going to be like an animated thing. But Scott Pilgrim it's a movie that I love. I like the humor of it. I like the style of it. It's very unique. And if you separate the hype, because people talk about it a little too much, but from the movie itself, I really enjoy that. Trick or Treat, I think, is the best horror anthology we've seen in a long, long time. It was very entertaining. I thought it was well done. It was fun to watch. I watch it every Halloween. That's another one, though, that I only put this low because they keep saying another one's going to happen. Who knows at this point? But if I knew it wasn't going to happen, it might have been higher on my list. And Tenacious D. 1098 we always use for kind of more personal picks, and I know it's not a popular film, and I know a lot of people don't care to see more, but I really love them. I love their music. I love their comedy. They've come out with at least one, maybe two albums since then, and I just think that I really enjoyed the first one, thought it was really fun, and I think another one could be just as fun.
All right, you're 10. Scott Pilgrim. I would rather jump off my roof than see a sequel to this movie. I'd rather jump off my roof than watch this movie again. I think this movie's not great. Animated, maybe it'll be better. Maybe it doesn't have Michael Cera's face in it that I just want to punch the entire time. So yeah, don't want to see that as a sequel. Good thing it's your 10. Your 9, Trick or Treat. I haven't seen it personally. That's just I've said it for weeks. I'm a pussy when it comes to horror movies. There's not a chance I probably will be terrified for it. So don't like to get scared. And your 8. I couldn't agree more with this pick. Hey. I hope and pray one day that we will get to see a Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny sequel, because I love the first movie. It may have come out at the right time for me, but the music is great in it. I think those two have like insane chemistry together as a comedic duo. I get why people don't like it, but they're wrong. So great, number 8 to clear up your number 10. TWOHIG. 1098. What is it?
Okay, cool. So Fandom movie number 10. I picked The Losers. 2010's The Losers.
Yikes.
Ooh. Okay. Cool. Great. All right. Number 9. Galaxy Quest. Wow. All right. Shocked. Look at that. So many surprises. And number 8. I picked Saban's Power Rangers.
All right, you're 9.
Somewhere Nico or Ryan Perma are dancing.
The Galaxy Quest. I miss, and you'll hear this sort of theme come up throughout my list tonight. I really spoof genre. I think it used to be really good. I think we haven't seen a really great spoof movie in a very long time. And Galaxy Quest is a spoof of a franchise that I hold very near and dear to my heart, of Star Trek. I think a sequel could be very cool. And actually, I was talking to some people off screen who even like pitched it further to me. They were, because I was like, I would kind of suck to do it without Alan Rickman. And then they were like, but the whole point of his character was sort of to mirror his real life journey as an actor. And now that he's gone, they could sort of play off that in the movie. I think it'd be cool. Vote for Boatman to bring like Sam Rockwell back is now the main character. He's gone from being Guy to being sort of the star of a spin-off Galaxy Quest show. And sort of similar hilarity would ensue. There's more Star Trek material to spoof off of now. So yeah, Galaxy Quest. And then, listen, I know it's like a joke in this community because there are like 1 or 2 people that love it way too much, but I love the Power Rangers. I grew up watching the Power Rangers. The shows, the Mighty Morphins, the Dino Rangers, like whatever, you name it, I watched it. So Bond's Power Rangers was one of the greatest surprises of the 2010s for me personally, because it looked bad. It looked overdone. It's taking a very cheesy concept that I used to like when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't really think you could bring that into now. The cast is surprisingly very good. They have very good chemistry. And at the end of the day, you know, Elizabeth Banks is kind of wonky in it, but she doesn't have to be the villain in the sequel, so I think it'd be cool to get a newer villain. And they set up in the post-credit scene my favorite character of Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger. So, you know, I saw that sort of cliffhanger, and I wanted to see more. So, the Bond's Power Rangers, bring it on.
So, Galaxy Quest, I think Galaxy Quest has a harder time to come back than they think. Like with Tim Allen, just in the media's eyes at this point, he's not going to be responding. Alan Rickman passing, but I wouldn't hate a sequel or a reboot or how a sequel to it. I have no issue with that. I think it was fun. As a person that hates Star Trek, I actually liked more than any Star Trek movie I've ever watched. So I wouldn't mind that. So this next one, I'm with you. I watched the first one and I enjoyed it. I thought it took too effing long to say it's morphin time. I was waiting the entire movie for them to just say, it's morphin, and then it finally happened, and it was a Krispy Kreme donut. But again, that movie needed some money, so they had to do that. But I would like to see it because I was the exact same way. I sat in the theater, I watched Tommy get introduced, and I said, "Let's fucking go!" And then it didn't make the box office. It died. We'll probably never see it, and it makes me mad. But no, I had no issue with the first. I thought the cast. The problem was Elizabeth Banks. They should have killed her off. I don't know if they did. I don't remember like clear as day, but they should have killed her off because she was the only one that didn't realize what movie she was in. She thought she was in the '90s show. Yeah, no issue with that. All right, Spence. No, you don't. No, you don't get to talk. Eanes, we're not going Crazyville yet. Let's hear yours, Eanes.
My number 10 is Blade Runner 2049. My number 9 is District 9. And my number 8 is Alita Battle Angel.
All right. Take us through it.
Blade Runner 2049 to me is damn near a perfect film. Directed by Villeneuve and cinematography from Deakins, which was absolutely phenomenal. It has a great story. An investigation leads to, replicants can reproduce, but they left it very open-ended with the promise of a replicant war between two factions. You have Jared Leto's character. He wants replicants to reproduce, and the rebels want to overthrow their masters, basically. You could have Mackenzie Davis return as the lead because she was part of the rebellion. It's lower on my list because it didn't make any money because nobody saw it.
Fair.
Okay. My number 9, District 9. Let's see. Well, this is Neil Blomkamp's first film, and in my opinion, it's still his best. He's kind of gone downhill since then. Basically, if you've seen the film, you know the film. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm just going to say that, there's great themes and messages in it. But it ends with a promise of one of the aliens returning in 3 years to heal Wickus. And I'd like to see that continued. There was talk at one time of them actually doing a sequel, but nothing ever came of it.
Fair.
Number 8, Alita Battle Angel. I really like this film. I really enjoy the father-daughter relationship between Alita and Dr. Ido. Rosa Salazar is great, in my opinion, as Alita. It's a good film, but I think it ultimately suffers from a bad ending. It's just a major cliffhanger, obvious setup for a trilogy. I think a sequel to actually make this film better. Plus, fans want it, and with the day and age we live, where Snyder Cut can get made, I don't see why this couldn't.
All right. So basically, you listed a bunch of movies that I need to see. Besides Blade Runner 2049, it's the best Blade Runner. I think it's better than the original, just what they were able to accomplish. I like the first one a lot, but this one just expands on it. It doesn't try to retread what it did in the original. So I would love to see a new take on it or a sequel to continue that story, because I think he, as a director, hasn't really missed since he started making movies. He's pretty much perfect at this point. So I would like to see another one. District 9 is one of those movies I haven't seen yet. I've been told that I would like it. I'm told that I would enjoy it. I just decided to step back into Fandom. So District 9's not in Fandom, so I can't watch it. But soon I will check that out. And Alita Battle Angel was one that I heard mixed reviews last year for. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people didn't like it. So it was mixed, so I didn't get a chance to watch it. But I'll check it out at some point. But I would imagine that would possibly get a sequel. I don't know how well it did in the box office, but the people that were...
I'm sorry. It did poorly domestically, but worldwide it made a lot of money.
Yeah, so it'll probably be there. All right, Spence. What do you got?
I hope you're ready to watch me lose in 2 seconds. My number 10 is 2014's Boyhood. Yeah, there you go. My number 9 is The Social Network. And my number 8 is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. I have good. Okay, So, Boyhood. I do this purely off of the basis. There's a great documentary series called the 7-Up series, following like this group of British children as they age their way through life. Now they're, I think, like 63. I think that as a concept alone is just really fascinating, and I would love for just Boyhood to become like a saga of just encapsulating what it was like to live in just history, having people just go through life and hitting all of the benchmarks of life, and just so they can react to it and see some sort of familiarity and everything. Fuck you, Brian. Social Network, I'm surprised no one has yikesed, because I think fuck you, Barr. I think everything going on with Mark Zuckerberg right now, fuck all of you. I think Mark Zuckerberg is fucking insane right now with everything going on with his politics as well as his financing. I think, and I'm not done with Eisenberg as Zuckerberg. I think it's one of the greatest performances of the decade, maybe of all time. I don't want to stop watching him. So giving him more time to feed on this role, as well as how much else is going on in just Facebook, could lead for a really, really interesting film. And Spider-Man 3. Looking back on it, I really enjoyed Maguire's. I won't say I enjoyed his take on Spider-Man, but I enjoyed that world of Spider-Man. And we're seeing with Spider-Verse, actually, what an older Spider-Man can do, and how well that can function in that universe. And I would love to see that come to live action, whether it be like Spider-Verse, where you're tutoring like a younger Spider-Man, or just him coming to terms with his age while still trying to be a superhero, not as much learning as trying to maintain the look of a hero while not looking like a hero. I think there's potential there, and I would like to see more Spider-Man. I wouldn't give away what we've gotten since then, but I would like a lot to see more.
Oh, okay. I thought like I was like, there's no way I'm going to get really passionate on anything, but let's change that. Boyhood, terrible choice. The actor that they followed, somebody told me, Cody, have you seen The Circle? So I hadn't. Checked out some clips of The Circle. They followed the wrong kid. Through life to make a movie about. That needs to stay right where it's at. He is a terrible actor, and I would not like to see him continue in Boyhood. And I also think Boyhood is a huge, just overpuffed gimmick movie. It's just, blah. That was Oscar bait if I've ever seen one. The next one. What was the next one? The Social Network. Basically, what I'm going to say about this, if you want to see Mark Zuckerberg's life, like, sorry. If you want to see the Social Network, like his life play out, just go before Congress and everything. He's already been out there, and like I don't want to see any more of that. Like I like the building of this thing, but I don't want to see beyond that. I don't care anymore. Like it was an intrigue. Now he's just, I don't know. Eisenberg is awful. I don't like Eisenberg at all. I will be honest with you. Social Network is where it stops, and it can stop right there. The next one. God no. I've stood on this thing. I think this is the second worst Spider-Man film. I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is worse than this film. But, like, this movie, I don't want to see anything continued from this. Like, it's time to go. And it's time to, like, and a sequel now, I'm guessing? Or, like, if you're doing a sequel now? Hell no. I do not want to see Tobey Maguire back on the screen with a walker swinging across. Yeah, I just don't think that's a great choice at all. Spider-Man 3 is a real rough choice, especially how it ended. And they would like, who would the villain be? Because they wasted all the like, I don't know. No thanks. I'm passing on that one. All right, Brian, take us through your 7 through 4.
All right. 7 nobody's going to have because not enough people have even seen this movie. It's called Sneakers. No. All right. 6. Atomic Bomb.
No, you talk about your 7.
Talk about 7. See, I asked about this earlier. So you go through them first.
Oh, I thought I told you right. Maybe I told you wrong.
All right. Sneakers. Movie from like 1992, I think, 93. It's basically Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix was in it, Mary McDonald. It's basically these people that it's kind of a heist movie kind of thing. They're security experts. But it's something that's really well done. I really enjoyed the whole heist was so well done, and then the characters, the dialogue. It wasn't goofy like a lot of things can be because it's a comedy. But it wasn't goofy as a more mature movie, but it was still really held my interest. And if you haven't seen this movie, I think everyone should go check it out because it's really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I was looking it up for the show when you put it on there, and it sounds super interesting. Like I would want to watch the original before.
It's a ton of fun.
Deserves a sequel, but I just see the star power in it and sounds super interesting. So I will definitely check out Sneakers. Who has seen Sneakers? For show of hands.
Nobody.
Okay, so we won't waste a lot of time on whether Sneakers deserves a sequel if you guys haven't seen it. All right, what's your 6, Brian?
6 was Atomic Blonde. This is another one that they say could possibly happen. There's even people saying, because it was the same director, that it could be Atomic Blonde mixed over with John Wick, but the problem of they're 2-3 decades apart, so that won't happen. But this is another one. It was based on a graphic novel. And the action in it was so well done. And I thought even the atmosphere was very well done. It kind of had this 80s kind of neo-noir thing. And the action scenes were just brutal, done by the same guy who did like Deadpool and John Wick, things like that. And I just think I would like to see more of this character in this spy world. Because I thought Charlize Theron did a great job. And also like James McAvoy in it. But I'd like to see more in that world.
Sure. I mean, in the world of like multiple movies coming out a year, this one could get a sequel. I don't know if it deserves a sequel. I remember watching it and thinking, okay, I mean, it's fine, but it didn't anything that like surprise me or do something different or make me want to go back to that, because I feel like she was pretty like, it's kind of like John Wick at times. I guess I think the action's better in John Wick. That's what ties it back. But that character, I think her is like so disconnected from like caring about her story in that movie for me. I think James McAvoy was okay in it. It just wasn't anything that stood out that year. Everybody else on Atomic Blonde, probably a movie that some people haven't really seen.
I think, like you said, I mean, it's got good action. I don't remember much about the plot because, I mean, it's just not memorable. I know James McAvoy was in it, and he dies, so yeah. There you go.
Spoilers.
I've said it, but I think I was on like Multiplex Loves Movies, and we were talking about Atomic Blonde might be getting a sequel. And I'll only dip into this in case it's like on a future list. But I would be much more interested in a Wanted sequel with Charlize Theron sort of filling the Angelina Jolie spot. Because that movie had like an interesting world and like it wasn't the greatest, but Atomic Blonde sort of just felt like a generic one-off action movie that I don't really care to see more from.
Fair. Wanted. Curved bullets. Interesting. What's your 5?
My 5 I asked earlier is The Losers. So,
yeah.
My first but not last Fandom film on here. The Losers, I just thought it came out around the time as another one, which I'll talk about later, which was I just thought it kind of got lost in the mix. Not a lot of people saw it at the time. I mean, kind of in our community, a lot more people have seen it just because it's kind of geared toward our kind of viewers. But I thought this is another one. It just the action was cool, but I thought it was tons of fun. Again, based on a graphic novel. The characters were all cool. Chris Evans, and you had Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Zoe Saldana, and I just thought they had a great variety of characters that all had a great banter together, great chemistry, and it was just a really entertaining film that I kind of hoped that they would go on and do, but clearly they did not. So.
You had it. Go ahead.
This was my 10. So I love The Losers. Losers is dope, and it's nice. You know what's great about The Losers? It's nice and short. And it's supposed to be the length that it is because it fills out that time like perfectly. There's not a second of wasted screen time. You're right, like Pooch, Cougar, like Jensen. It's just such a good group of people, and it's cool because it's based on a graphic novel. But like, there's nothing special about them. They're just people who were in the military who sort of A-teamed the military, and it's a lot more fun than like what the A-Team movie was. So yeah, I'd love to see the Losers sequel.
So I just recently saw this movie for the first time, and it was fun. It was fun. It was short, but I would be all on board to see the group revisit something. Like, I think the action's really good in this movie. I think the character work is such a short amount of time. You actually care about the characters, which is impressive to do in such a short little time. I thought there was a little stupid parts like sprinkled in, like I didn't care about like the main objective and the villain, like that stuff, that stuff where it's like, but the overall characters of the losers, sign me up for. I would see them going to another mission. Same run length, something around that time. I wouldn't want it to be like an extended longer version of that, but no, that's a great choice. I think the losers definitely deserve one. And I know nothing about the graphic novel, so what does everybody else think about the losers?
I haven't seen it.
I think it's a great pick. I really like like you said, the character dynamics. You know, how they come together as a team. The betrayal that happens in it. Got some great actors. I mean, yeah, I kind of wish I thought of this one.
Yeah, it's a really good one. 4, Brian.
So 4, which has been mentioned in the comments and by Nick, is the A-Team. A-Team came out essentially the same time as the losers, which is I think they kind of cannibalized each other as far as interest. But that was another one that had such great potential, and I think so much of the first movie was spent kind of setting up the team. And kind of because I think they thought they were going to do more movies. Didn't do great financially, so there won't be a sequel. But it kind of was originally conceived as one. You can kind of tell because it's one of those not really cliffhanger ending, but it kind of leaves threads untied. I thought that the cast was perfectly cast across the board. A lot of the people I don't know, like I don't think Bradley Cooper would come back and do it at this point, things like that. But it was just another one that you'll see a theme in mine. It had great action and it was a lot of fun, and that's kind of what I want to see in like a franchise and something that has sequels. You know, you don't see sequels to dramas. It's usually more things like this that are just going to be, hey, let's have some more fun for an hour and a half or so.
Damn, Quentin Rampage Jackson. I have not seen this movie since 2010. I went there because Rampage Jackson was in it, and I thought that was just cool. I thought the movie was okay at best. I thought like the two characters, like I think who Murdoch? Is that the guy? I'm trying to think. Who's the pilot?
Murdoch.
That's Murdoch.
Murdoch. I thought he was fantastic in the movie. I thought he was great. I don't know who plays it, and I thought like Liam Neeson. But the overall plot, it was just like a 2010s like action in your face. Losers was a better movie than the A-Team for me. But again, I haven't visited in a while, so maybe it's a hidden gem that I doubt that it is. But just like Mr. T and Rampage Jackson both shouldn't act. What does everybody else think about the A-Team? Spence gave you one of the worst reactions for it, and they have Boyhood and Spider-Man 3. So before we start throwing barbs, I think you need to calm down. But what does everybody else think about this?
I think you nailed it. The Losers is a better film, and it should have been higher than the A-Team.
I would agree, especially since there's such similar concepts. And honestly, I don't know why. Like, I like Murdoch. I didn't love Bradley Cooper, and I thought Liam Neeson was kind of just fine. And I never watched the old A-Team show, so
well, that's the thing is I maybe should have had this one lower because I think this one because that's the kind of thing I watched growing up was A-Team. So I was like really hoping for a great movie, and when they had this one, I'm like, well, they could go on and kind of do more with it. But
so what I'd rather see is an A-Team reboot at this point, not necessarily a sequel.
I'm not sure they'd bother, but
yeah, probably.
Spence, have you seen the A-Team?
No, I was just very surprised.
But they have very strong feelings about it.
I have a very expressive face.
That's fair. And hands. Twohig, what's your 7?
My 7. Okay, there's a very big theme about to come up in the next couple of ones that I already sort of mentioned, but watch out! Spaceballs. And cue graphic, right?
He is asleep.
He was Spaceballs. So he's going through the search for more money. So I talk about this one now, right? Okay, and then I'll sign up for the free for all later. Like I said, I miss the spoof genre. And it's very funny when Brian was talking about Sneakers. He mentioned how it's like not goofy, it's smart comedy. And I was looking at my list and I was like, got a lot of the opposite coming up right now. Spaceballs is a goofy comedy. They made a joke about a sequel in the movie, and every time I watch the movie, and that joke comes up, I was like, I'm always just like, I would love a sequel to Spaceballs. Think about what you could do now with what they've done with Star Wars in terms of like Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. I think you could make like a Baby Yoda. Like, what if they made like a Gremlin, the Baby Yoda character in Spaceballs 2? I'm just pitching stuff, but I want to see more on Star Wars going forward, and it's set up already. Spaceballs 2, the search for more money, and they don't even need to hide behind the fact that they're trying to make more money. It's great.
So I hate Spaceballs. I actively hate Spaceballs. I think it is not funny, and I think it's bad. You want to know why the spoof genre is not around anymore?
Oh, I know why.
Oh yeah, we'll take it to 2000s where Meet the Spartans and all those spoof movies, disaster movie and comic book, like that stuff happened. So no one's going to touch this. And I don't want to see the Spaceball ones at all because this community is already divided as hell when it comes to Star Wars and what's one's fine. I don't want to see anybody make fun of it and blow it even farther out of the water. I watched this movie a couple times, and I wish I could find a laugh in it. I really do. I just don't. So please, God, do not make a Spaceballs sequel. Everybody else on Spaceballs.
I absolutely love Spaceballs. I mean, as a guy who loves Star Wars, I mean, got a poster behind me. I just don't consider that when I made my list. I think it's a fine movie on its own. It doesn't need a sequel. There's no plot that's left open. Deserve? I don't know. Would you like to see one? I would, but I don't know.
Fair.
I haven't seen this since I was like 12, but I really liked it then. I think it's good to have a sequel now, is I think the opportune thing to point out, because you have so much potential with the prequels and the TV and the sequel series. There's so much to pick from, especially because a lot of shit came out from the Star Wars franchise since this came out. So you have a lot to do, either talking about the good stuff or just digging into the bad stuff. It's a great pick.
I just went on a deep... Oh, Brian, go ahead.
I'm with Cody. I fucking hate it. When I was younger and it first came out and I saw it in theaters because I was 40 years old back then. It was... I liked it just because it was something Star Wars related, and it was, hey, it's making fun of Star Wars. I mean, it's like reading Mad Magazine, a Star Wars article or something. But in the years since then, I've realized that it's mostly just not very funny. It's a lot of bad puns. I think it was Kirk one time called Airplane Dad Jokes the movie, and that's what I find most Mel Brooks movies, but especially something like Spaceballs, to be dad jokes the movie. It's just the most obvious puns and things. I don't find most of it funny. There's a few funny parts, like Rick Moranis I like in it, things like that. But a lot of the movie is just so bad. And as far as bringing it back to try and cover the new stuff, the prequels already kind of made a parody of Star Wars itself. So you can't really do much with that.
I just would love, I would just love a Spaceballs 2 that follows spoofs on Kylo and Rey, in the new trilogy, where that's what I think would be funny.
I just want a deep dive of the amount of money the disaster movie and epic movie made, and we're all messed up in life, guys. We could have made a lot of cash. Okay. On that note, what's your next one? Try to
my next one, similar theme. I miss the spoof genre, man, and one of my favorite comedies that I would love to see more from is Get Smart. Get Smart is, to me, it's one of the most underrated comedies. You could get a Dave Bautista in to play the villain, a la The Rock, but I think Anne Hathaway and Steve Carell have weirdly great chemistry in this movie. It should not work, but it does a lot. This is one of Steve Carell's, in my opinion, funniest performances. Playing Maxwell Smart, a secret agent. It's literally it's The Office, but he's a secret agent. Get Smart is so not talked about enough, in my opinion. And I'd love to see Maxwell Smart and Anne Hathaway on another mission where you get another The Rock type person to be the villain. And bring Alan Arkin back. He's one of the best parts of that movie.
So I just watched this movie for the first time this year.
You're welcome.
And I didn't love it, think it was the funniest thing ever, but I honestly liked where it was going, and it was a lot of fun while I was watching it. So I would definitely I think it would honestly do really well to do another sequel like that. I think Steve Carell is one of the funniest human beings in this entire world. I think he's great, and I'm with you. Anne Hathaway and him had great chemistry out there. I would just like it. I don't know. Maybe a different villain, maybe something like that. Maybe tighter script. I don't know. It just seemed a little too stupid at times, like almost potty humor along the lines where I understand that's a character of Get Smart at times, but I wanted something a little bit more. But I wouldn't hate a sequel at all. I would see it. What does everybody else think about Get Smart?
I thought Get Smart was fine. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was never really, wishing there was more of it made. I couldn't see it getting like a theatrical sequel. I could see it maybe make like a Netflix movie or something for it.
Man, I saw it when it came out. Never revisited. I don't know.
Hey, you picked a bad movie where the jokes are, hey, I can control my pee, and ooh, I kissed a man. Like, the movie really doesn't have much to say or much to do. Why would you get a sequel to this movie when you can just do a different spy comedy with better actors? Like, there's nothing to gain from getting a sequel to this.
Did Spence just say I picked a bad movie?
He did.
Okay, just making sure they said.
But ignoring my subjectivity here, Get Smart is not a good movie.
Okay. Neither is Spider-Man 3. Go to your next one.
Right. My next one, very, very similar to a lot of things I just said, and I think this is where I leave Cody.
Is it movie 43?
No. The fact that Daddy's Home has a sequel and The Other Guys does not is an absolute travesty. It is one of the greatest sins this earth has given us. I'm sorry. I know this is a hotly debated topic around here, but Alan Gamble and Terry Hoyts are they're two of the greatest pairing in comedy in the decade that this came out. I think Will Ferrell, and I know because Will Ferrell movies today are kind of risky because they've all kind of sucked. But I love Anchorman too, and if you can kind of do this is where I lose Cody. If you can kind of do with The Other Guys, taking the core premise and inflating it, not necessarily to the degree, because Anchorman needed to be inflated to that degree, but inflate the premise of these two characters and what they're doing. And I would love to see The Other Guys sequel, where you shoots A-Rod.
Fuck The Other Guys. This is not funny. This is not funny. Will Ferrell wasted it. He wasted it on all the other movies, which is fine, but he doesn't have it anymore. It doesn't exist. It is out of his body. It happens to every comedic actor. At some point down the line, they just stop being funny, and this is one of the starts. I think The Other Guys is not good. I think Mark Wahlberg is not a funny comedic actor. I want to stop that from happening. I don't think he's funny. Daddy's Home and all those, terrible. You're right. I would rather took Other Guys than Daddy's Home 2. But that's not the question on the table. This one does not deserve a sequel. Now they're much older. I don't like where that would go at all. Yeah. This peacock needs to fly like right into a bus and just Regina George it and die. Yeah. Everybody else on this.
Great fucking pick. Great fucking pick. This is a great movie.
Oh, you're in line with Spence.
Watch it for the first time with Jake Maroney going this year, and it fucking slaps. Sorry, Nick, but great. Like, if there's one Adam McKay movie that deserves a sequel, it's this.
I mean, I like the movie. It's good. It's no open plot, so like it's not on my list. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think they could, maybe try to finally bring down Dirty Mike and the boys and stop them from having sex in people's cars. I mean, just anything like that would be fun. I mean, the sad thing is you can't bring back The Rock or Sam Jackson, but I mean, you could maybe put two more powerhouses in there and do something funny. Put Tom Cruise in there.
You could do a similar way to how they upped the fight in Anchorman and then did it in Anchorman 2. I know not a lot of people like that, but I would love that.
For me, just to quote Thomas earlier, meh. I saw the movie when it first came out. Was just kind of like whatever, it was fine. Didn't hate it. Didn't really love it. But then like once again, this community and people are like loving this movie and quoting it like crazy. I'm like, man, was it better than I thought? Should I give it another chance? And I did. And I'm like, no, it's still just kind of meh. So I don't understand the love for this movie. If they want to make a sequel for it, I'd probably watch it, just hoping to be funny. But I don't see it.
Yeah, and if the reason why I hate the other guys more than anything else, if the other guys was still around in this trivia community, I wouldn't have the concept right now. So I'll take the other guys as not being a thing.
You call this sequel
Fact.
Get out. Go to your 4.
Good movie too. Anyway, this might get yikes. My number 4 is Inception. I lied. It's not going to get
Tenet? What?
Maybe. Who knows? Not confirmed. Therefore, eligible for the list.
What's fair?
I just think Inception, with the characters we had, and this is why people think Tenet might be a pseudo sequel, but with the characters we had, the story kind of ends. We don't really need to go anywhere from there. But just the world that was built and the concept that to me was so original of a sci-fi concept, I think would be a lot cooler to keep exploring with a new group of people on a new mission, trying to accomplish something different. But the idea of going into dreams was something that was so new to me at the time when I first saw Inception. It really blew my mind. And you get the same like sort of visuals. You get the same sort of performances out of different actors. I think you have an instant hit. So if you introduce a pandemic and then release the sequel at the end of it when everyone is just dying for it, it'll do great.
Fair. Just real quick on this one. Wahlberg plays a Boston douchebag, not a comedic actor in that one. So difference. He's not trying to be slapstick. Okay. Inception, movie I saw for the first time this year. After I've heard enough trivia questions from this season of everybody putting Nolan at 4, of what carpet and all that stuff that we get asked, I finally watched it. This movie's incredible. This movie is incredible. I almost restarted it right after watching it because I know there's out there that the top is he's dreaming, he's not. It's been confirmed, blah, blah, blah. But I like those kind of movies that leave you with that thought, like, is it? So that's kind of hesitant. Whether I want a sequel or not, but I think just in that world and that created, like maybe somebody else doing the whole gang would be interesting, an interesting feel on it. But I think the overall heist with a dream sequence is just crazy. Yeah, I wish. I hope Tenet. I really do hope Tenet is a sequel to it because. My theater's just now reopening. It's going to show Inception and Tenet the same weekend, so like that would be incredible to watch them back to back. But no, Inception would be a perfect one. I would love to see him do a sequel to it. So yeah, even though I think we might get it, I don't know. So, what does everybody else think about Inception?
I love Inception. It's my favorite Nolan film. It's probably one of my favorite films of all time now. I think it doesn't need a sequel, but you pointed out that as long as you stay away from Cobb and his team and you go into, maybe the military aspect of them using it for training or, something else, it could work. I don't have it on my list because I don't think it needs a sequel, but would I watch one? Hell yes.
I don't know. I like Inception a lot. But just Nolan fans in general, and especially the community, have kind of made me not be able to enjoy Nolan films as much because it's a little, over the top about it. I like the movie. I think it's very good. But I also think it's a movie that stands best as a standalone movie. I think a sequel to this would kind of almost feel like a cheap cashing kind of thing. There's not really anywhere else you can go with it. And if you try to go with like a side story or something like that, it's going to feel like those direct to video sequels they make sometimes to movies. That just basically to slap the name on it. I just think it's a movie that stands great as a single movie.
Yeah. I really agree with Brian. I think if you're going to do a sequel, it should do like a legacy sequel, like you did with 2049. You can keep some of the characters, but wait a bit. I still think it's too new, and it's still a meme to a lot of people. I think it's just if we wait it out and allow technology to develop, you could really create a really incredible sequel. If you do it right now, it's just going to feel sort of pandering.
Pander all you want. I'll take it tomorrow. So, be beautiful. I just don't want Leo in it, to be honest, because I want that story to be separate. But that's
Story's done.
Yeah, his story's done. Eanes, go ahead. 7.
All right. My number 7 is 28 Weeks Later. This is the follow-up to Danny Boyle's directed film, 28 Days Later. It's about the rage virus outbreak. Takes place 6 months later, and you basically have NATO coming into Great Britain, and they pretty much have a safe zone for the residents. A family enters. The kids go out looking for their presumed dead mother. She's infected. Pretty much the husband ends up kissing her, although, jumping ahead, she's infected, but she is somehow immune to the virus. It's a good plot point. She's still contagious. The father ends up kissing her, and he becomes infected, and all hell breaks loose. Basically, the film ends with the kids being flown to France. The son was actually bitten by the father. He's infected, yet he has the same immunity as his mother. And it shows the rage-infected zombies running towards the Eiffel Tower. So, I mean, it's an open-ended film. They had talked at one point about doing 28 months later. Never acted on it. You could have Danny Boyle return, or you get the writer Alex Garland to come back and direct as well, and they could go about finding a cure or maybe just the end of humanity.
So this is one I fully agree with you. I'm not a horror fan. I'm quite the opposite. I like zombie movies. These two freaked me the hell out because this is the first one with like fast zombies. That was not my cup of tea at all because it freaked me out. But I think, I always get them confused, and I don't know why I get them confused. Days and Weeks, it makes sense why Weeks is the second one, but I always don't get them in my head. But I think one would be perfect. It's long enough away, and do something completely different, or follow the same storyline. I think it would be great. And I'm really surprised that they haven't done one yet. So this is one that I think definitely deserves because how the last one left off. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that one. Everybody else on 28 Weeks Later. Twohig, have you seen it?
No.
Didn't think so because you're
Iron
scared.
Man's not in it. Sorry.
Iron Man's not.
We're already
Brian?
I saw both 28 Days and 28 Weeks, and I enjoyed them both. I actually think I might have even enjoyed Weeks a little bit better than Days. But I never felt like I really need to see where the rest of the story went. It was kind of like they were fine to watch them. If there another one came out, like we've said earlier, I'd probably go see it. I'm not itching for another one. I was kind of curious what the director of that one has done since then. And he really hasn't done much of anything. He's doing the live action Sword in the Stone adaptation apparently. But if they made another one, I'd watch it. But
we're already living in a pandemic. I don't want to see another one. I haven't seen the movie, but just more like, hey, there's a virus. Shit doesn't sound great right now.
Yeah. I just want to see movies again. Okay, so what's your next one?
Pop quiz, hot shot. You got a 90s action film starring Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, and Dennis Hopper. It's a box office hit. It wins 2 Oscars. What do? You give us the abomination that is Cruise Control. So yes, my number 6 is Speed. Might be a little high, but it's definitely one of my favorite action films of the 90s, and it needs serious redemption. They greenlit a sequel immediately. They didn't wait for Keanu to do a stint in regional theater. They just wrote the character out with a throwaway line about, yeah, we broke up. I don't remember much about the film. I know they replaced him with Jason Patrick, which, why? Willem Dafoe is the villain. There's a boat. I think I blocked most of it out. I think they should just do a new sequel, ignore it, go back to the Jack Traven character, like a new action-packed Crisis, maybe a Race Against the Clock. And we're in the middle of the Keanu-sance. I mean, anything that he touches right now is pretty much gold. They're redoing Bill and Ted, redoing The Matrix. I mean, people will go out and see Keanu.
Speed is my favorite action movie of the '90s, by far. I don't think there's a lot of good action movies in the '90s, but this is by far my favorite, and I think it's a lot because of Keanu Reeves and Dennis Hopper. I think those two are just like on the calls and everything. I don't want a sequel to this. I didn't want a sequel to the second one. I would want one, right? But I don't know where you go. The cool concept was you're on a bus. It can't drop below a speed limit in LA, right? It was in LA, right? So, like, one, that's a possibility or alone that you could drive around 50 miles an hour throughout all LA. And then it seems like a Liam Neeson kind of thing of like, what other transportation device do they get on and what can't they drop below and stuff like that. So I understand the want. I just don't know where they go. But again, if they said Speed 3 and it was, or Speed 2 like they did with Halloween and just say, hey, those other ones don't really matter, and say he's back in it, I'm going to be in there the first night to watch it. But I just don't see it going that well. But yeah. The first Speed's amazing. It's top tier. What does everybody else think about Speed?
I'm gonna jump in first just because I completely agree with everything that Cody just said. Speed is probably my favorite action film in the '90s, and I loved it. Even if Keanu Reeves was in it, I wasn't big on the whole idea of a sequel because it is the concept of it is like, get thrown into the situation, and yeah, maybe you could follow the characters in something else, but then it isn't really Speed. It's just hey, these characters. Yeah, I'd probably go see it. Yeah, Speed 2 is one of the sequels that I just pretend doesn't exist. I actually had the conversation earlier about somebody about that. And but yeah, I think Speed as a movie I think just stands best on its own once again. So yeah,
I agree. Nothing more to add. Just don't know where it'd go.
I would agree for the most part. It would start to feel sort of Die Hardy if you made a bunch of sequels. In the sense that like you'd have to be real tongue in cheek and like, how many times can this one situation happen to me if you like made the boat or explode or the airplane or whatever it is. So yeah, I agree that it's more of a one-off, and I don't love the characters enough to like see them in another adventure. They're fine, they're great, but yeah.
So I will say, I love Speed. My favorite. I mean, I think I saw it in the theaters like 10, 11 times. I mean, now this is back in the day when like things wouldn't hit video for like a year, so it was like the only way to see it for a while. But it was, I love that movie. But
yeah. By the way, Die Hard is fine. That's not the same situation because Die Hard with a Vengeance is fantastic.
No,
so.
I like Die Hard 3, but it starts to get like, oh.
Well, the whole thing is he's freely able to run around the city. The concept of Speed is one item, like having to move. And
I see what you're saying though, because like in Die Hard 2 even says, "How can the same shit happen to the same guy twice?" Right. It'd be a whole lot of that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, that's why I said it could be like I was gonna say that's why it could be like a race against the clock. Like he's having to speed to certain locations or something because he's got like 48 hours to do something. But yeah, that's.
I think the closest thing we got to a good Speed sequel was Crank.
Has
to keep his heart above a certain rate, things like that.
Had sex at the horse track. We're not talking about that one. Go ahead with your next one.
Okay, my number 5 is Evil Dead 2013. As a fan of Raimi's Evil Dead franchise, I wasn't really expecting much from this reboot. It's the feature debut of Fede Alvarez. Pretty much about a heroin addict trying to quit. She goes to a cabin in the woods with her brother and 3 friends. One of the friends opens the Book of the Dead. Then shit gets really crazy. It pays homage to Raimi's work, incorporating elements of other entries. But he makes it his own. It has some of the best qualities of a horror film, in my opinion. It's raw. It's gory. There's excellent use of practical effects. In fact, I don't think there's any CGI whatsoever in the film. Cinematography is amazing. You have Mia versus this entity in the blood rain, which I thought was just a fantastic scene. Jane Levy's performance as Mia, I mean, she's just fantastic, especially when she's possessed. And the film ends, it's open-ended because she pretty much defeats the entity and she walks off in the woods. The Book of Dead is still on the ground, and in the credits, we see and hear Bruce Campbell as Ash, pretty much teasing a team up. I think it'd be a great team up. You have Fede Alvarez come back and direct it. I mean, he's only gotten better as a director, in my opinion. Don't Breathe was fantastic. I think it'd be really good to have, I don't know. The property is still popular. That's what I'm trying to say. Especially, with the TV show coming out, people still love the Evil Dead property. I think it would work.
So no. Sound. Not a chance. I'm just saying, if I go to a cabin with the wood with a bunch of friends, and one of them brought or decided to pick up a thing called the Book of the Dead or whatever, he'd be shot. Nope, no. You don't bring that evil shit. So I've never seen the Evil Deads. I was told, Mike and Nazario and me have battled for this for a while. Again, I think I would like some of them. But I remember seeing the trailer for this Evil Dead and said, hell no, not a chance in hell that I would see that. And I don't even know if it's that scary. So, again, I understand the whole how popular the Evil Dead is, so I wouldn't say that it doesn't deserve a sequel. It probably does. It's just me. I couldn't tell you jack shit about it. Let's everybody else think about Evil Dead 2013.
I'll go first. Aside from Don't Breathe, which you mentioned, I actually really like Don't Breathe. I almost put it on my list, but I hear it might actually be getting it. I'm not sure. Scary movies scare me, and evil and dead are two scary words. So, yeah, no, I never saw this. Too scary.
Where do you go with the sequel? Is my opinion, because I haven't seen the new one. I've seen the originals, and I think in comparison, I don't know how you would step it up. I think there's potential there, but it mostly just confuses me.
I know. I like the remake a lot, actually, and I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to it. I think there's a number of different ways it could go, and I'd be willing to watch any of them. I know as recently as last year, they were talking about it still happening, and I hope it does.
Oh gosh, Barr and Lucas both in the chat. I don't like. And you know what? I will say something. Matt Kohler, I've been doing the show for 65 episodes. I don't know if I've seen you many times in the chat, but when your boy shows up on the episode, you show up to support. So that's a hat off to Matt Kohler right there. I'll tell you. What's your 4?
My number 4 is Constantine.
Yikes.
All right.
Spence. The last 3 wasn't fun. Does it get better from here?
Nope.
At least he's honest.
So my number 7 is a pick that only the people behind the scenes will agree with me, because it's one of a favorite movie of one Kaleb Koho. It is Sky High, which is also my first of 2 fandom films on this list.
Where's Boatman right now?
I think it's an incredible concept. I think just the idea of like superheroes going to high school as well as just legacy students being able to go has a lot of fucking potential, and the film itself is incredible. I think if you go on, you can either have these characters have their kids go to high school on their own, have it be a legacy thing, or you can continue to like a TV series or something and reuse the characters. There's a lot of potential to go on here, and I think it adds a new layer to the superhero formula that we haven't seen tread over a lot. So why not get another one?
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I think most people that have seen this movie will be with me that are not a huge fan of it. The first 30 minutes of this movie is great potential. The sorting people into classes, the whole flying up to it, the wanting to be a superpower, figuring out where you place, all that stuff. The moment that happens, great. The rest, shit. The whole plot of turning them into babies and the whole concept of like that whole trip down is just awful to me. I like the concept of Sky High, but I don't like the movie of Sky High, and I don't want to see a sequel because, like, I get those characters will return, but like, I don't know where you go. Like, if it's a whole new class, then what's the point? And then, hey, guess what? I guarantee, here's the plot of Sky High 2. People get sorted, And a villain shows up at the school, and these people that just got powers, or just to figure out how to use the powers, have to defeat Big Baddie. Sounds like the first one again. So not interested. Hard pass. Sky High, everybody. What do y'all think?
I turned it off. I don't even know how it ends.
They turn people to babies. That's the whole plot.
But then they get turned back.
See, I watched the whole movie. I didn't remember that. That's how much I remember this movie. I mean, obviously, it's not my age range. By the time this came out, I was already married at this point, so I was a little old for this. I have heard actually that they're considering a Disney Plus series for this, which, you know, for fans of it, more power to you. Me,
but a series makes sense. That's fine. They can do it like through high school of learning how to be superpowers. Not a 2-hour movie. There's no chance.
So, a couple things. Now, number one, Spence commented in the chat at the beginning of the show before they even said any of their movies that Thomas won. So starting to see where the rest of your list is going. I like Sky High, and it was definitely, I was the right age. I saw it, and I won't admit this often, but I like Sky High because of nostalgia, and that. A sequel I'd be interested in if, like, in the first 5 minutes, Kingsman 2 style, they blew up the school, and it's like, where do we go from there? Because Cody's right. The only place a sequel could go right now is more students. One's a sidekick, but they're really heroes. Don't worry. So sure, but a series makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's true. You earn a badge of honor with the Kingsmen for bringing it up without support from them. But they also share the same faction name as a bad sequel too, so that's fair. Go ahead.
My number 6 is a great 90s movie that I've actually seen. It is one of my favorite movies of all time, and maybe the most 90s action movie. It is Face Off. Legitimately, it is my favorite Nick Cage performance. I think if you just keep him as the consistent villain in a franchise, you have incredible potential. Imagine getting some like modern, like no one. I don't think we could really find anyone who's like John Travolta and just a level of insanity. But just try and find someone like him. I don't know who, and then have him face off against like an older Nick Cage, or even just reuse the technology, something. It is one of the great film premises I remember looking at growing up. Like, holy shit, why isn't there more of this? And why would you not lean into this and do more with this? I think the original film is fucking incredible. And the idea of you not doing more with the premise is fucking crazy to me. I don't see why we don't have it.
Hey, Spence, are you doing anything in March of next year? Because we're doing a thing called the Top 100 again, and you need to be on.
It's on my list. I can.
Great concept, not even close. I think it's one of the dumbest ideas of all time. Is to take someone's face off, just the face, just the outcut, and then match it perfectly with the same person that doesn't have the same shaped face at all, and that doesn't. I hate this movie. The only reason I remember watching this movie is, and I think Brian will be able to go more into detail because he was older when it came out. But for my age and people going back, because I'm almost 30 at this point, me going back and saying this is an actual movie that came out and had success, like that's insane to me. Because the concept is stupid. The movie is real stupid, like beyond. I don't understand why people still like it. Travolta is not a good actor by any means. Nick Cage isn't a good actor at this point. He's really campy and stupid. So these two in the movie, I can't stand this. I remember I got up to the last like 40 minutes of the movie and I turned it off because it was so stupid. I think it's really bad. I think arguably one of the people that have nostalgia for this movie or the people that like the idea, you're just being a troll. I think it's awful. I love this. You both are. Kick Barr and Lucas out of the chat. They're so mad. Brian, go ahead. I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah. This movie is a complete pile of shit. I This is another one of those movies that I saw and thought, wow, that's a shitty movie. I'm sure everyone else feels the same. And then people are like, oh my God, it's the greatest action movie ever. It's so fun. And I'm like, what the fuck did you watch? Again, I went back like about a year or so ago and rewatched it. I'm like, maybe I was in a bad mood that day. No, it sucks. Beginning to end, they're both bad actors. It's got John Woo as John Wooiest. I mean, every single little moment has slow-mo. You've played this movie in regular speed, it's 10 minutes long. Just saying. There's so much overuse of slow motion in this thing. But yeah, I mean, everything from the concept of it to the acting to everything about it is just so bad. And you can even try and say you like the cheese if you like it over the top, but if you like it as a guilty pleasure, maybe. But people who legitimately think it's a good movie, you need to have your heads checked.
Yeah, speaking of guilty pleasure, I mean, I actually like this film. Not because it's a good film. It's very entertaining. It really is. It's ridiculous as hell, but that's part of the fun.
I can at least respect that opinion. He admits that it's bad.
It's terrible. I'm not gonna.
I haven't seen it in a hot second. Isn't Nick Cage like the villain at the beginning, but then he's got to act like the hero because John Travolta
it's Nick Cage playing John Travolta playing Nick Cage.
Okay, this is not an original concept. Like switching bodies was thought of way before this.
Yeah, it's not original. No.
But did they cut? Have they ever cut laser?
And did they actually say face off?
And then suddenly you have the same hairline and body structure. That makes.
Are they actually working on a remake to this? I think they are.
Yeah, it's called Freaky Friday.
No, I think they're remaking it with Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. Not a joke. I think that's actually what's happening.
So please, you know what? I will watch that if they
remaking Planes, Trains with Will Smith and Kevin Hart. So who the hell knows anymore?
I will watch that if they literally just use the.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are.
They're what?
Remaking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Will Smith and Kevin Hart.
Anyway,
Cody's crying.
I will watch the Face Off remake if they literally just use the Face Swap app for the whole movie and have Kevin Hart's face on Dwayne Johnson's body and vice versa. Other than that, this movie's dumb.
Can I say one small thing before I move on to my number 5? 5.
Cody's
because I can't find words. Go ahead.
Okay. The reason I think it works and what I think could make what could be good about the sequel is the reason why people want to watch Jumanji 2, Jumanji 3, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's the idea of the actors playing someone playing themselves. I think if you can lean into that and find actors who are committed to making fun of themselves, I think you have potential for just a really good comedy, not to mention John Woo's action, I think, is inherently extremely entertaining and over the top to a nature where you can laugh at the film and still have a good time.
Oh my gosh. That is one of the saddest moments of my entire life that was just said. It doesn't work in this day and age. Technology is everywhere. You can find a ride in 3 seconds. Oh my. Okay. No, go ahead to your next one. Wow. I can't believe I found out on my own show, like this show, about it, that I had no idea this was happening.
So, my 5 is the better reboot of a TV series, which it deserves a sequel, and also has a much better cast. I'm looking at 2015's The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I think I wouldn't say we're desperately in need of more spy franchises. I think Bond and Kingsman are covering that pretty well. But I think Man from U.N.C.L.E. offers like a really interesting idea of it, is leaning into the pulpiness of when it was created. And not only that, you have an incredible like ensemble set of leads. Armie Hammer, Henry Cavill, and Alicia Vikander are stunning, wonderful actors who I would watch on screen for 5 hours each film. I don't understand why they didn't make a sequel. Fuck, I forgot I think Vaughn directed. No, it wasn't Vaughn. No, I'm forgetting the director. Anyway,
Guy Ritchie, wasn't it?
Thank you. That's what it was. Yeah, Guy Ritchie's filming of this is, I wouldn't say it's unique to him, but it feels like he finally fit in a genre and it works fantastically. I think this should be like one of the next great franchises. I think there's so much to build from this. We have 6 Mission Impossibles, and even after 2 shit the bed, they still have 4 more incredible ones. Why not Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Why not continue this and build on it the way you could?
Just to touch something real quick, Lucas, I'm okay with Robin Hood 2 if he shows up as Maximus at the end of the film, because he's just basically Man from U.N.C.L.E. Also, Mission Impossible exists. Kingsman, it was a bad one. Mission Impossible.
I forgot about Mission Impossible as a spy franchise.
I think the main problem with why it didn't get a sequel, it didn't make much money. I think I remember I was working at the theater when this came out. It was not advertised well. A lot of people didn't understand what it was. I think the movie's really good. I really do, and I would like a sequel. I just think it's going to be like a series at some point, like on HBO or something like that. I don't think they're going to go through a theatrical release again, just because it didn't do as well. And it has Henry Cavill, right, in this one? Am I right about that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then he showed up in Mission Impossible and beat Tom Cruise's ass. So, like, that, I mean, the mixing. So, again, I would be okay with it. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. But I'm not against it. What does everybody else think about The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
I think it's a good pick. I didn't really consider it, to be honest. Kind of forgot about it. Yeah, I had fun with the movie. And like you said, the dynamic between Hammer and Cavill was really good. Vikander's great in it. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing another one.
I will say that it's your best pick so far. Well done. I saw it when it came out, and I don't remember anything about it. I remember feeling very meh after I left. Maybe thinking the premise would be more suited for a TV show. It felt super generic. Generic is the word I would sort of describe for the movie, so I don't really care to see a second one. But, you know, I feel like I feel about it the way I would have felt when, like, Fast and Furious was a thing, when they were like, oh, they're making a Fast and Furious sequel. And I'd be like, I don't really care. But if eventually they get to, like, 7, 8 Man from U.N.C.L.E.s, I might be like, oh, maybe I should check this out.
I liked Man from U.N.C.L.E. I wasn't blown away by it, but I like they were saying, I like the cast of it a lot. Even if Armie Hammer leaned a little bit too far into that Russian accent. But Henry Cavill, especially after they wasted him in Mission Impossible, which I'm not saying he's bad, I'm saying he's really good in Mission Impossible, and I wish they hadn't, turned him villain, because I would love to see him in many more of those. So I would, if this means he can have another franchise, keep going, go for it. My biggest problem is I'm not a big fan of like that whole 60s kind of era setting. I kind of wish it was modern day. So maybe you can take the same cast and put him in a different movie. But yeah.
What if they get into a time machine in the future? Sign it. Okay. What's your 4?
I'm about to fucking dive again. My number 4 is Fight Club. So there is a graphic novel sequel to the film, and legitimately, I think it has a lot of great concepts to build. I love the first film, and I think building on that has a lot of potential, as well as, again, what Chuck Palahniuk did in the sequel is really, really great, and I think its ending is one of the most controversial fucking things I've ever seen. To the point that I think just making it, you're going to have a massive response, both for and against, and why not do that? And I mean, yeah, you have already great first film: Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Helen Bonham Carter. Bring them all back, and you do in the story. I don't see why you don't. I think most of the actors have said they want to. I think Fincher said he's interested. I think there's a lot going for this. This ties into my 3 as well, which I'll get to later. But you have great source material. I just wish it would be tapped.
Overrated. I don't like Fight Club at all. I think it's fine at best. I am not the frat guy that there's enough guys in my entire growing up that said this movie is incredible and blah blah. Go check it out. Fight Club, man. Then you watch Fight Club and it's Fight Club. Cool. I don't need to see a sequel. I don't even actually need to watch the original. I want Fincher to do more true crime. If I'm being honest with you, I want Fincher to tackle more true crime. I think he does an incredible work with the crime genre. I think Zodiac is one of the best films ever made. And people even tell Fight Club sniffs the top 3 Fincher is insane to me. I think it's fine at best. No sequel for me. No thanks.
I disagree with both of you. I love Fight Club. It's actually, one of my favorite movies of the 90s. I wouldn't say all time, not like top 10, but it's probably a good top 25 for me. I really like the movie a lot. But if ever a movie, even more so than Speed and the other ones we talked about, this is a movie that just does not need a sequel, and a sequel would not work. I know they've made a graphic novel, things like that, but even the author said that he'll sign off on graphic novels, musicals, whatever they want to make, as long as the check clears. It doesn't change his work. So he doesn't actually care about that stuff. As far as Fincher and Pitt and Norton, I'm not sure what you read that I haven't read, but I've seen them in interviews repeatedly say we will never want to go back and do a sequel to this. So I know you saw that, but I love the movie. Don't want a sequel at all.
Fight Club is great. I agree. It's in my top 100 as well. But everything Brian just said, like, it doesn't need a sequel. I think it ends perfectly, and I know there's source material out there for another one, but I mean, like y'all said, it might just be a gimmick after that point.
David Fincher is probably my favorite or one of my favorite directors. True story. Don't you touch this film. This is a beautiful work of art. What would be the point in bringing Brad Pitt? The whole point is that we don't know that Brad Pitt's the same person. What would be the point of bringing him back? That's the whole crux of the end of it. It's like saying, oh, we're going to make a Sixth Sense, spoiler for the rest of Spence's list. We're going to make a Sixth Sense sequel, but the kid just sees the dead people now, and we know Bruce Willis is dead, and we're just going to keep going from there. So, spoiler if you haven't seen the Sixth Sense from like 1990, whatever.
Thomas Scully, you're right. Fincher directed this. This is bad. All right. Threes. Brian, what's your 3?
All right. My 3 was, yikes, earlier, Constantine. Constantine is a movie that I think does not get enough credit. I really love the whole world they created there. I mean, not just the story of it, but I love the characters. I love the look of the whole world. I mean, they had the Papa Midnight's Club, where it's kind of neutral ground, and it kind of the precursors look like the Continental and John Wick. But I love the look of it. I mean, even the costume design, everything. There were things about this movie that I never thought I'd even notice, but just the look of this movie I really loved. And I wish they had done more. And I know they tried to do like a TV series, which wasn't really a sequel to this, but just based on the same source material. But obviously not nearly as good. But I wanted to see more of Keanu Reeves as Constantine. I want to see more of Djimon Hounsou as Midnight. And I want to see more of this world. But unfortunately, we're not going to see it.
Yeah, I had it at 4. Yeah, Keanu is great in this. I mean, it's action packed. I mean, what can I not say? I'll talk about the ending. The ending kind of open-ended. I mean, he's cured of his cancer. Then you have the post-credit with Shia becoming an angel. I mean, you could continue from there. And like I was saying, I mean, they're bringing all kinds of Keanu movies back. Why not bring this one back? I know they recently did a Comic-Con panel where they were talking about it. It's in the public's mind. I mean, add it to the DC lineup. Maybe put it on HBO Max. I don't know. Get this thing going.
I've never seen Constantine.
Well, now you're studying for Fandom. Now I have an excuse. You have to watch it.
Yeah, I have to end up watching it. I heard the concept's really good. I didn't hear it's great, but the concept is fun. At least that's what I think. I was also told not to show it to my kids, so because I can watch most Fandom things. Constantine's not one of them. I'll go to Twohig first. Twohig, you used to watch Constantine like 45,000 times. What's your thought on Constantine?
It's true, I have. It's a fine movie. It's kind of like action, or The Exorcist action version. Kind of is what I would describe it as. I agree with a cool concept. The problem is, and maybe it's because I've watched it so many times, it's boring. Every time I've watched it, it just feels so boring to me. Like, Keanu's been way better. I like Djimon Hounsou as Papa Midnight, and like I said, I think that premise is sort of a cool thing. I don't think Shia LaBeouf's very good. Tilda Swinton's kind of overacting in it. It's just, again.
You know you have Power Rangers on your list, right?
Yes, but I guess Tilda Swinton. All right, strike that from the record. But I guess if it's a TV show that sort of sounds cool, I don't need a sequel to the Keanu Reeves Constantine version. Maybe a reboot, maybe a TV show. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the movie.
Spence?
I haven't seen it.
Fair. Well, you're in Fandom too. Study. Okay. Twohig, what's your 3? I had
my 3
in the World War.
Is a 1977 film called Orca. Kidding. So I'll preface this by saying I would prefer Pixar not do sequels. I prefer they do original content. This is my only other Fandom movie on the list, but I believe I only had 2. Look at that. Everyone would have lost that bet. if there's a movie that I've been watching, and every time I watch it, it climbs higher and higher up on my list, it's Onward. And I know it's a little early, like this could very realistically get a sequel. But I think the world that Onward set up, along with the relationship between Ian and Barley, is something that could be really cool to continue exploring. Imagine a world where magic is now back. Ian has brought magic back to this sort of fantasy world that we're living in. I think that provides new challenges, new obstacles, new people to fight, as well as the greatest thing about Onward is sort of exploring. And it's not something that I think Pixar has done like outright, is sort of explore like a brotherly relationship. The way it does in Onward, at least. And I think it would be cool to see the next step in that, where maybe like Barley goes off to college and Ian has become dependent on Barley now that he's accepted him as sort of his father figure. And now Ian needs to learn how to be on his own. And there's a whole lot of metaphors. Like if you watch Onward is so dope because he's doing a spell where like he's got to walk across an invisible ridge. And the whole thing's a metaphor for like your dad or your brother teaching you how to ride a bike. Or he's holding the staff and he's like fixing his elbow and his stance like he'd be playing baseball. So there's a lot of really cool stuff within Onward that I would like to see continued explored. I think there's a lot more room for the story to continue, and I think the world they built is pretty cool.
Yeah, Onward is one that I really do enjoy. I think Onward gets a meh delivery, but I think it's kind of what the setup, and like I want to spend more time in that world and away from like the main two characters, because basically it was just 0 to 60 to go through and race through this incredible world that they built. So that's just the only thing that I would like different, but I would see an Onward sequel. I don't say it's bad. The Orca thing would have been great though, because seeing that in theaters when that played before Jaws was hilarious. But everybody else on Onward.
You have ideas for sequels. I don't think they'd be super compelling. I think you're more likely to get like a short like Disney Plus series from it. I really don't think that doing anything after this will be super successful unless you do something like way down the line in all the characters' lives, and even then, I'm not sure how it would do. Good movie. I don't think it functions though.
I've never seen it. So.
I've seen it, and if they made a sequel, I'd probably go see it. But I feel like anything more in the world of Onward, I almost feel like it's more like I don't know if any of you have like kids or maybe watch it yourself. They have a lot of like TV series from like Trolls and How to Train Your Dragon and things like that. These ones that are kind of these whole series that take place in this world, but it's not really, it's not a sequel movie. And I kind of think I could see them doing something like that with this world, but I don't know if I'd want to watch a whole other sequel. I actually liked Pixar when they first started, when they actually made a statement like, hey, we're not doing sequels. We're going to do all these original movies. But once Toy Story 2 made how many billions of dollars, all of a sudden now they're cranking them out like crazy. So I kind of wish they go back to just original films.
The third movie they made was a sequel.
All right, Thomas.
My number 3 is World War Z. All right. It's directed by Mark Forster. Novel was adapted. It's a Max Brooks novel. Pretty much about zombie apocalypse. You got a UN field agent who has to go in and determine the cause and find some type of vaccine. When I first saw it, I was on the edge of my seat. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how good it was because I heard there was like reshoots and like all kinds of trouble with like filming. So like I just expected it to suck. I like the fact that there's fast zombies like 28 Days Later. Yeah, I mean, there's great scenes with them like climbing up the walls. It was very inventive on how the zombies operated and worked together. The film, it pretty much ends with him infecting himself because he determined that zombies won't attack anybody that's like terminally ill. So basically they make a vaccine and it provides camouflage for people in order for them to fight back. I know the novel covers like a decade, so there's definitely more they can go into. And there was talks at one time of having Fincher come on, but that kind of fell through. But I don't think you need Fincher necessarily. I mean, just continue with the story. You have a lot of material to work from. So I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. There's a sequel. I haven't revisited in a while, but I think the world would definitely be one that would be fine to go back into, and to see where it goes. And there is talks about it happening, but let's see if it ever gets off the ground. But I wouldn't hate seeing a sequel at all.
Never seen it.
I guess I'll talk then. I really liked World War Z. I thought it was kind of a unique take on the genre because I mean it's so easy for zombie movies to just kind of be the same thing over and over again. But between like the kind of swarm mentality that they have there, as far as like when they're attacking on the wall and like you was talking about things like that, that was kind of something new we hadn't seen before. And then kind of the more muted end. You know, expect this big action-packed ending to the movie, and it's not. It's more of a character-driven thing at the end. And I really liked that. And they left it open for a sequel, obviously. Which, yeah, it's been declared dead pretty much at this point, at least as far as like Fincher and Pitt and them are concerned. But I would love to see them if they made a sequel. I don't think they ever will. They came out with a video game about a year ago, which I think is a ton of fun. But a movie sequel, probably not going to happen as much as I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I like your pitch for it. I think you did all right with the pitch, but zombies sort of overdone. I wouldn't object to this, but it's whatever. Should I just go or? Yeah. So my 3 on the trend of sequels of novels being better. I have Ender's Game, which, for those of you who don't know, spoiler alert for the film, I guess. This kid is basically told, "Hey, play this game," but plot twist, he's actually commanding an entire army to commit genocide on a certain alien race. And in the sequels, Speaker of the Dead, namely, I think the franchise after it gets sort of bloated, but just focusing on Ender, his journey after it is he comes upon one, like the queen alien who he just didn't kill. And it's about him working with her to make sure her species survives, because they weren't an antagonistic or angry species. It was the humans who came to attack them, to kill them, and to destroy all of them. I think just like the simple, like just like the hard sci-fi concept of working with the species who you fucking demolished to try and rebuild their society is an incredible concept, which has a bunch of gray moral area you could have Ender go through. I don't see why this hasn't happened. It's really fucking dark, but it's something I would just love to see on the big screen.
I heard Ender Game sucked. The movie that came out. I didn't watch it. I didn't read the book. To quote my faction mate, I don't read the books. I watch the movies. So I haven't seen this one at all. Isn't that the last Starfighter? Isn't that the same concept?
Very similar.
Okay, well, sure, maybe. I don't know. I don't think a sequel will do very well because
it wouldn't.
So I don't know if we need one because I heard the last one wasn't great at all. What does everybody else think about Ender's Game?
I actually really like this movie. I think it's kind of underrated. Yeah, I like the twist at the end. I thought that was kind of creative. I guess I haven't seen The Last Starfighter, so yeah, it's kind of new to me. Yeah, the problem with it, I mean, both the actors, like the main actors, are so old now. I think this would be better if it was remade instead of an actual sequel to this.
This is not one of those I could see him, because I mean, there's a whole series of books. I could see him doing, again, a Netflix, Amazon Prime kind of series out of it. They might be better off, because the problem with movie franchises is once one flops, you're not going to get the rest of them. So I mean, if you do it as like a series or something, then maybe you actually have a chance of getting through the whole story.
I also watch the movies. I don't read the books. This is a book I read. I read this book. And I actually really liked the book. Only saw sort of a bit of the movie. I think it was like playing on TV once, and I saw like a half hour of it, and I just never went back to it. I've also heard not great things until Thomas just talked about it, about the movie. But I do like the concept. I really liked the book, even if it is sort of a ripoff of something that came before it. So I think I'd have to see the movie to determine whether or not I'd want a sequel or not.
And for the record, I wouldn't call it a ripoff. I mean, Last Starfighter is a kind of similar concept, but it's not exactly the same thing. And actually, I think they both came out about the same time. So. The book and the Last Starfighter movie.
Okay. Brian.
Oh, back to me. All right. My number 2 is a Shane Black movie called The Nice Guys.
Yikes, kinda, maybe. Cody,
Yikes.
How do we rule this?
Do you have it at the same level?
Yeah.
I guess we'll
you both talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, Nice Guys. Shane Black is one of my favorite writers. Actually, even one of my favorite directors. Even though when he's doing his own material, you put him behind a Predator, something like that, where he's got a lot of studio interference, not such great results. But when he does like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Nice Guys, he's one of the best with dialogue. He picks the best actors that are good at reading the voice of his dialogue. And the chemistry in Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe is just off the charts. I mean, I loved every minute of this movie. I loved all the comedy to it. I loved the plot of it. I loved the setting of it. And I'm not a big fan of like 70s kind of era movies, but I mean, everything in this movie worked for me, and I would love to see more of these characters.
I would agree. Most of the things I've had on my list or have been on my list for like one of two reasons. One, I like the world that was built, or two, I love the chemistry of the characters and I want to see them in future adventures. These are two of the most charismatic chemistry having characters in a movie that I've seen in a while. And I would love to see it keep going. I really would. I think Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling are so good in the movie. The tone of the movie is one of my favorite things because it's really in an intense time about it, like an intense subject, and they still find a way to make it light of it and not have it be ridiculous. So I would love to see a Nice Guys sequel.
I've never been so pissed of a movie not making money than walking 4 or 5 weeks after this one was released. This movie is amazing. This movie does not get enough credit. These two are brilliant in this movie. The concept was great. I could see them do anything. I could just see them in any scenario and be fine with it. They play off each other so well. I remember watching it and I just wish I would be okay. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get a movie just because it didn't do well financially, but I would love a series of this, like if they did like an HBO or something like that. Somebody paid good money, but we couldn't get Gosling and Crowe, so it sucks. But yeah, this one, it would have been my number one with a bullet, hands down. No questions asked. What do you guys think about The Nice Guys?
I think it's good. I really like the chemistry between the two leads. I did not like the third act because it kind of jumped to like Rush Hour 3. It's just over the top explosion for no reason. It just, I don't know. Parts of it didn't work. I really enjoy it. I would love to see a sequel. I don't know. I wish I liked it more.
Fucking great movie. Fucking great pick. I think subconsciously I told myself to not make like really common picks for my list.
Oh.
That too. But if I did, this would have been on it. Because this is, I think, one of the better comedies come out in recent years, and Shane Black just needs more work in this genre. Because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is already fucking amazing film, and doing like the same thing but with an added layer to it for this, it worked really well. I would pay $30 to watch it on Disney Plus. Like, fucking why not? I need this in my eyes.
Okay. We'll skip TWOHIG. So Thomas, what's your 2?
My number 2 is The Raid 2. In my eyes, this is Gareth Evans' masterpiece. What The Raid did in setting up his style of acting, action, fighting, the way he makes his films. This one opens the world up. It's about organized crime. The lead character's brother is killed, and he has to go undercover to weed out police corruption. It's pretty much between two crime families. He gets put in prison and befriends the son of one of the crime bosses as his way in. And yeah, cinematography is great. I think the shot fight scenes are amazing. Great choreography. There's like this crazy prison scene where character's about to get stabbed, and then he interferes, and then you have a freaking riot, and they're fighting in the mud. I think it's amazing. There's great villains. You have a female assassin with hammers. You have a guy with a baseball bat and a baseball. yeah, it's an open-ended one as well. You pretty much have a resolution, but one of the crime families shows up, and they're like, they say something that's inaudible, but he says, "I'm done." And you learn earlier in the film that you're never actually done with this type of life. Like, there's no way out, and it kind of ends that way. So I just think there's a lot more to do with it, and since there's unresolved plot points, why not?
I need to go revisit the Raid and Raid 2. First time watching, I think it's incredible. I just haven't rewatched anything, but I 100% Raid 3 could definitely happen. I'd be totally fine with it. No issues whatsoever. So that's totally fine with me. What does everybody else think about the Raid 2?
I own it. Haven't seen it. But I will endorse any more really solid really solid choreographed combat. I can't find my words, but good pick.
I'll go next because I've not seen them, though I've heard that in terms of like choreographed action, this is like the gold standard. So they were in Star Wars.
I think the Raid 1 and 2 are amazing, examples of action, fighting and set pieces. Both of them, I think, are a little, light on plot. It's kind of the movie like, who cares about the plot though? You're just there to watch kick-ass action. 2 actually almost gets too bogged down in plot a little bit, gets a little bit bloated, but you're just getting action scene after action scene, and it's awesome. I don't think we'll ever see a third Raid, but if you want to scratch that itch, if you haven't seen The Night Comes for Us, it's got some of the same people. It's a Netflix movie. Well, they didn't make it, but they bought it. That is the same kind of style of action, and it is amazing. Check that movie out.
Yep.
Spence.
My 2, probably my most generic pick, is Leon the Professional, which, in my opinion, I think you take this in a very new direction, because I think the first one is a very good action film and an all right drama. I think if you lean into the dramatic elements for a sequel, it could be incredible. Mostly because I think you could provide some metatextual narrative for this. You have the character of Matilda now grown up. She is an assassin, but being haunted by images of her past, as well as I think if you take into the conversation the idea of what the film was. It was about a man falling for a younger woman, which is what Luc Besson's whole story is. I think if you frame this as something like, not PTSD probably isn't the right word, but her reliving the traumatic experiences she went through with Leon, or maybe a stand-in for Luc Besson or something, I think you have a really great concept that could build for a lot of great dramatic potential, as well as Natalie Portman she could be a very good action heroine. So getting to see her you could even have it be like David Leitch or something. Have a very strong hand-to-hand combat style, which could provide for a really well-layered film for both action and dramatic purposes.
I agree with you on this one. This one definitely deserves a sequel. You've done it twice. Be proud of yourself. You picked out 2 sequels that actually needed to happen. I think this is a no-brainer. It should happen. It's been plenty of years since. I could see it already set up. I think it would have a response to it if it came out. No issue whatsoever. I think Leon definitely deserves a spot on this. What does everybody else think about Leon the Professional?
Yeah, you got Commissioner Gordon and Jane Foster fighting people. I've never seen it.
I think it's great. Sorry. And it'd be great to have a story of Natalie Portman's character doing the same thing. I agree with you.
I love The Professional, and you always heard for years that they talked about going back and doing like Natalie Portman's character Matilda when she grew up. Luc Besson actually wrote a script, or at least a script treatment, for a movie called Matilda, but he waited too long, decided not to do it. They ended up turning that into the movie Columbiana, which he only produced, didn't direct, which obviously wasn't nearly as good. If they ever still made Matilda, I would definitely go see it. I don't know if they ever will. I kind of doubt they will, but I'd be interested.
All right. Brian, what's your one?
My number 1, the whole reason I wanted to do this panel, it's not going to surprise anybody. It's Serenity. Serenity is a movie that is criminally underrated, or at least was, as far as like box office and people actually went and saw the movie. So I think a lot of people thought they had to have seen the TV series to follow the movie, and you really didn't. I saw this movie without having seen the series. On the way home from the theater, stopped and bought the whole series and binged it that day. but it's a great movie. I think it's got such a great cast of characters. I would have loved to have seen many, many more Adventure of the People, but they canceled the TV series too early, and then they put out the movie, and then the movie didn't get any success. So they keep once in a while they tease, oh, maybe it could still happen, but it's unlikely. But it's the one movie that I really wish we could get a sequel to, because the world they created there and the characters and the relationships and the banter between them was just so entertaining.
Hey, Brian, you remember the last time you brought this up on the show?
No.
This movie? Do you remember?
Probably
that?
the last time I was on the show. I don't know.
Yeah, still haven't seen it. But sure. Because you tell me one thing, somebody else tells me another thing, somebody else tells me another thing, that you don't have to watch it, or you do have to watch it, or you do not watch it without watching this. I don't know what to do anymore. But sure, give Brian his sequel. Give Brian a sequel. He wants to see it. I like Brian. Brian deserves a sequel to his movie. Go ahead.
I will just clarify this. Will you know a little bit more about the background characters by watching the series first? Maybe. But you absolutely do not need to know. They do an excellent job of dropping you in and introducing you to everybody in the movie. You don't need to have seen the series to watch the movie.
Everybody else on Serenity.
I agree, because I didn't watch the show. I don't watch canceled shows. That's just not my thing. The film was fun. I mean, I don't know. I just don't get the hype behind the property. I don't know. It's just not for me.
You don't watch canceled shows, or will you watch shows that finished?
I watched shows that finished, but it
Okay.
got canceled, so I didn't go back and watch it.
Just double checking. Okay, just making sure.
I've seen one episode of the show, and that's it. I like the cast, so good pick.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
What are you people watching? Jeez.
And the future Warzone campus. So I'll get on.
What are you, Ryan Permerson? What are you guys watching?
If I was Ryan Permerson, I will have only seen 5 films.
That's true.
Just
You never
kidding,
seen
Ryan.
Three
Just
Musketeers?
kidding.
You never seen the Three Musketeers? No. You ever seen Mary Poppins? No.
I think it's a good pick. I just think they should bring back the show and give it new
I'd
life.
be fine with that too.
Listen, Brian's demanding it. Everybody give him the show. Tug, what's yours?
Give it to me. You're
What's
gonna have to
your
keep hearing about it every time I'm on this. Your list sucks.
My number one is a spin-off of the movie Orca called Tentacles.
Don't do that. Lucas is in the chat. He'll get really excited.
If you're gonna do a water movie sequel, you do Day of the Dolphin too.
Honestly, just go watch the trailer for a movie called Tentacles. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. My number one, and I get a feeling most people will dislike me for what I'm about to say, is it's the Goonies. Never say die, man. Listen, I get it. Goonies, nostalgia, blah, blah, blah. I think the Goonies is actually a really good adventure movie. And I know it's hard to pitch because everyone thinks a sequel needs to be the kids all grown up. No. What I want, only bring back Sean Astin, Josh Brolin. Sean Astin, for the rest of his life, tried to become like a treasure hunter, like a la Nick Cage in National Treasure. Josh Brolin has been his brother who's been sort of telling him to get over it. And the fact is that the movie isn't necessarily about them. It's about a new group of kids who go on one of Sean Astin's unfinished treasure hunts. It doesn't have to be like, I think we could get unknowns in this, just get good child actors to sort of go on another Goonies-esque adventure that Sean Astin and Josh Brolin reluctantly, but Sean Astin and Josh Brolin help them on it. You could get a new set of villains. The premise, the sort of tone and world they set up, to me, there's endless possibilities, and I love the Goonies. This is not just for nostalgia reasons. I still love the Goonies, and I think it's a really good movie. And I would love to see a sequel, a la what I just pitched.
I don't like the Goonies. I don't like it. I don't get it. Brian's his piece on that, I guess. I just don't like it. I don't know. It's a fine movie, but I didn't grow up on it. I watched it probably when I was 15 or so. The first time I ever watched it, and I was just like, cool, the fat kid's doing a truffle shuffle. That's why kids in school yelled at me to do the truffle shovel. Fuck them. Like, fuck that shit. Like, now I get it and I don't like it. So, but fair. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, I just don't understand it. I just don't understand the hype about it. I was talking to my wife and she's like, "Oh, the Goonies will make my top 100 list." It's like, you've seen the Goonies? What makes no sense why she's seen it? I don't know. Sequel, fine. I probably wouldn't watch it though. I don't think it's great. Everybody with the Goonies.
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
Garth.
It's whatever. You picked one of the more generic sequel picks, and it's like, where do you go? I like your thing, but if you remove the kids, it's just Uncharted. But a familiar relation, it's whatever. Like, I don't really care.
I like your pitch. I don't think it necessarily needs a sequel. I think it's fine as it is. I have fond memories of watching it when I was growing up. Yeah, it's a good movie.
I love the Goonies. I don't know if I want to see a sequel, only because at this point, Goonies has been copied so many times. It's been, it's kind of like it's kind of like one of those things where making a sequel to it might feel like, oh, it's just another one of these kind of movies, even though they were the original ones to do it. I mean, you had like the Stranger Things and It and those kind of things, which obviously are more horror skewed, but it's definitely the same kind of concept and atmosphere and the kids, and especially when they shoved in the 80s setting and things like that. So while I love the Goonies, I would absolutely go see a Goonies sequel. But they've talked about it for years, and I'm always kind of torn. I'm hesitant on it. I'm like, I'd love to see it if it was good, but I'm afraid it wouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Thomas, what's your one?
My number one is Dread. It's the first film I thought of. I immediately put it on my list. I had no expectation, having seen the Stallone one. Directed by Pete Travis. It's actually directed by Garland, as it's like common knowledge now. Pretty much, he's judge, jury, executioner. They get trapped in a sealed-off building and must fight to survive. I think Urban is great. He's one of the best character actors working today, in my opinion. It's a tight script. There's no filler. It moves. You got the quippy one-liners from Dredd. I love how the action is shot, and like the use of slow motion for the perspective of the drug slow-mo. I'm actually mad this hasn't gotten a sequel. I don't feel like it's underrated. I feel like it's just underseen. It's open-ended, kind of. Anderson passes her test. There's so much more to do in this world. The possibility of bringing in Judge Death, the Dark Judges. Urban wants to do a sequel. I think people really would watch this. My number one.
Is Dread in Fandom, Nick?
No.
I can't watch it then. Sorry, not right now. I wanted to. I haven't seen it, but I want to check it out. But I can't lose in Fandom right now. So, yeah, this is one I've always wanted to. You said that Carl Urban wants to. I think anybody, I wouldn't blame him. I've heard really great things about this movie. I just haven't got around to watching it. And if it wasn't this week of doing the show, I would have watched it for the show. But Fantastic Four and Daredevil came first, which don't deserve sequels. What does everybody else think about Dredd? The funny thing is, everybody went, yeah, but no one else put it on their list. So why is Tom smarter than everybody else?
This is my 11, and I cut it again because I didn't want typical movies. But this is one of my favorite, mixed bag, non-Marvel DC comic book movies. It's fucking incredible. I love this film to pieces, and Alex Garland proved how great of a director he is, because that fucking dude didn't direct it. I don't care what you say. I would pay a lot of money to see this happen again. It's one of my favorite sci-fi films of the decade, I say. It's incredible.
I really enjoyed the movie. It's essentially the same plot as far as the central story as the first Raid movie, where it's just making your way up to the top of a building, kicking ass, and but it's a very entertaining movie. I'd love to see more of this world. Last I heard, they were not going to make a sequel movie, but there's a series called Mega City 1 they were going to be making a TV series of, which sounds like the kind of thing where Carl Urban might pop in for guest appearances, but it'd mostly be about other people. I don't know if it's still happening. I haven't heard any news on it in a year now. But so I'd love to see more in the world, but I would hope though that it would be a full participation of Carl Urban because he was really good in the role.
I love this movie, and it was sort of hovering around 15. The reason I left it off is you'd have to sort of focus on someone else because I've seen the Stallone Dredd, and what they do is they try to give Dredd feelings and emotion and character, and he's just supposed to be this stone cold, unstoppable force, which is dope, and I love watching. So I would not be against the sequel. But my issue is if you do a sequel like that, it kind of would just be the same thing. So you'd have to sort of get, Olivia Thirlby plays his assistant. You'd have to get sort of another character like that to be the emotion and the reason we're sort of interested, because Dredd is just this stone cold, faceless character, which is awesome, and I would watch it. So great pick.
Okay. Spence, close out the show.
Cody, you're going to give me an F. Be prepared.
That's probably why I put you last.
Oh, 100%. So remember how earlier Thomas picked a movie that had a sequel that was sort of shit, so I wanted a new sequel? My number one is maybe the biggest waste of potential in a sequel, maybe of all time. We'd have to argue that. My number one is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Ooh. Why are we doing this?
I think it is. I mean, you mentioned it on YLS. Or on
That's the one that should be
100.
replaced. Anyway.
No. I think it breathed new life into Star Wars. I think this entire decade of Star Wars has been doing that. I think you've seen it like deepening and enriching the canon universe, and I think we need to lean into that. And Rise of Skywalker did the opposite of that. It took everything that it had going for it and then fucked it. I think in the perfect world, you give this back to Rian Johnson as well as he worked with Dave Filoni, and he makes an animated sequel series something. Do something with the rules of the universe that Rian Johnson expanded on in the morality of Star Wars that he had. Or do like what Thomas Scully said and call it Duel of Fates. Anything other than Rise of Skywalker. You had a brilliant piece of sci-fi, just anything. And you just shit in it. You shit in it hard. And you ruined the potential for one of the greatest developments of a franchise of all time.
You watched a different movie than I did? I'm just saying, I just watched this movie, and this movie is a fucking mess. This movie is a fucking mess. I would, fine, if you want Rian Johnson to do his own thing, then do an opposite. But don't take the characters that were set up in one movie by one director, put them in another movie that you didn't like what the first direction was, change everything you do, and then make it your own world, and then have somebody stack correct that one. I think this movie's boring. If we're being 100% honest, I think this movie is absolutely 100% boring from start to finish. I think the throne room scene is incredible. One of those shots is incredible in that movie. And as a Star Wars fan, that was fun. But everything else, even like the training with Rey and Luke, is overdone. The only reason the end has any emotional weight is because you knew at that point Leia passed away, and Luke does that, and that's fine how he goes out. I'm cool with that. I'm not a Star Wars fan that says that's stupid and shouldn't have happened. But overall, this movie's long, drawn out, boring. Literally, we have to watch a ship travel and just get pew, pew. They're too far away from our blasters. We can't turn up our speed because we have plenty of fuel. But this has just got enough fuel to drag this shit out for as long as needed. It's just, and then another cool part is the light speed, like kamikaze move. That's sweet, but then told the later movie you can't do that. So I get where you're going, but I don't want to see his world anymore. I don't honestly want to see him touch Star Wars. I want to see him touch his own original stuff. Stay away from franchises because I think it was just a hot mess. Regardless if you like it, love it. The people that love Last Jedi are not Star Wars fans in my eyes anymore. They're just not, because you're not a fan of Star Wars because it's the one that feels the most unlike Star Wars. And that's what people say all the time. It's like, this is the best because it doesn't feel like the rest of them. Well, we like the rest of them, so stop touching it. So I think Rise of Skywalker, by the way, is worse than this film, but that's just because they had to throw Band-Aids all over the shit to try to fix what Rian Johnson set up. What does everybody else think about Last Jedi?
Were you suggesting that Rian Johnson would do the follow-up? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Regardless of how you feel about the film itself, I think if they could go back and redo the third one, it would be much better because there's, so much course correcting. It's just, I'm at the point now where I don't care. Just let it go. Move on to something else in Star Wars universe. Move away from these. I don't see why we have to keep going back. Like, oh, Duel of the Fates should have been made instead of this, or there's talk of like a director's cut being released, and like just move on to something else.
Nick, you want to go or you?
I can go. Who talks first? You talk first? Oh, on the movie. Yeah, Kirk said it best on an episode of the Top 100 series. He said, if you like this movie because it's the most different, that means you don't like Star Wars. And I was like, thank you, Kirk, for putting words in how I've been trying to explain why I hate this movie. In fact, look, The Force Awakens is fine. I actually like it a little bit less than most other people. But it deserved a better sequel than The Last Jedi, which literally was just like, I know Kaleb Koho will disagree, which is literally just like, let's crap on everything we just did. So that the third one had to be like, crap, let's crap on all the crap that we just crapped on. And the sequel trilogy for me was just ruined by this movie. And I like Rise of Skywalker better, so to say that we should replace that one out of the three, it's still not good. Like I still don't think it's very good, but it's better than The Last Jedi to me. This is an odd choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not going to get fully into this whole debate again, except to say that I agree with what everyone else says, where people are like, oh, I love this because they said fuck everything in the past of Star Wars. We want to go a whole different direction with it. If you want something else, watch fucking something else. Don't take something that exists and say, oh no, I want to change it all to match what I want it to be. No, let the story continue as it is. Rise of Skywalker, I actually very much enjoyed. My biggest problem with it was the pacing of it. It felt like it was so rushed because they had basically 2 movies worth of stuff shoved into one because they had to course correct and fix everything that Rian Johnson fucked up. I like Rian Johnson. I like Rian Johnson movies. He didn't want to make a Star Wars movie. He had his own idea of what he wanted to make, and he should have made that and just said that and let somebody else make Star Wars.
Did they have to course correct though? They should have course corrected from the start and fucking planned out 3 movies instead of letting everybody.
I agree with that. I don't like the whole idea of running and passing over time to somebody else. I agree they should have planned out a story ahead of time. That was the first mistake. But once Last Jedi was made, then yes, they had to course correct it at that point.
I just hate when you have 7 movies. I hate when you have 7 movies that teach you like rules and laws and mythology and what sets up why and what's this, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're fucking nobody. You're nobody. You're doing what you want. And Luke, F the lightsaber. Like there's just so many things that doesn't make Star Wars anything what it was.
It's not the same thing, but it irks me with that because you have Casino Royale, which basically tells everything wrong with the Bond formula, but people call it the best James Bond film. It's not the exact same, but I think it's at least comparative. You at least see how it works. You can see how it works.
At least, okay, for your example, that's a terrible example, by the way, that says that Casino Royale is one of the best Bond films. It's top 2. But the thing is, it starts with a brand new character of James Bond, which you can do. The problem with Last Jedi is it had established characters from the previous movie that it said, those storylines that we were hoping to pay off, not well. So, on that note, the top list of movies that deserve sequels are as follows. The Losers, World War Z, Raid 2, Leon the Professional, Star Wars The Last Jedi, The Goonies, Serenity, Dread, Constantine, and The Nice Guys. The winner of this episode. Is there a winner? Not sure. I'm going to give Brian the win. Brian had overall the most that was. He had Tenacious D. He had The Losers. He had The Nice Guys. Fine. He had Scott Pilgrim and Serenity. Some of those I haven't seen. No problem. Second place will go to Thomas. Slightly under. Haven't seen Dread. World. I need to see some of these. You had a few horror movies on there that I probably need to check out, like District 9 and Alita Battle Angel. Haven't seen yet. So no problem with that. But overall, not far behind is 2. You already went right to him without me saying it. You had ones I agree with, but you also had like Spaceballs, the other guys. Onward was a little new, but no problem with that one. And last place with a flipping bullet, Vince. Consistent, bro. I could just list your list and call it. You had 2. You had 5, and you had 2. Well done. Again, so next week, I have actors, best actor and actress director combos represented by one movie. I already have 2 people. I have Zach Ford and Lucas Schobach. They've submitted list. So if you want to be on there, so just show up, submit your list, and you can definitely be on. Again, it has to represent the one movie. So, and don't pick like one director and actor that did one movie, because that's not a that's a one-off. The week after that is going to be best 70s movies with Kirk. I think I have Paul. I have Michael. I think I have Zach Ford. And there's one spot left. So that's why I pushed it back a week, because Paul and I think Lucas couldn't do it. So the week after that will be, what is it? Boatman show. Who the hell knows? He may just sit here for an hour and 30 minutes and do a walk-in impression. Week after that will be best film scores with Koho. I dropped out of that one because Koho's going to be better on scores than I will, and I'm not going to listen to him and care about him. Week after that, best 2010s movie scenes, no comic book, because there's a reason for that. So best scenes in the 2010s, submit your list if you're interested. The week after that, best musicals represented by one song, so it's movie or Broadway show, but you submit one song to represent the entire list on 30th. And then top 40 has changed. It is now comic book movie scenes. I did movies, and 3 people would talk the first week, and that's not a show, it's 12 minutes. So we're doing top 40 scenes. So I think it's going to be very interesting. So show up for that. I think I have my panel already. I have Nick Carley, Nick Twig, Robert Parker, and Thomas Scully. So that's overall the top 40 list. If one drop out between now and then, I'll look out for somebody. But right now, that's it. Thanks for being here for our first week back. We'll be back next week. Have a good night.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Return to your lady friend. Duncan, please return to your lady friend.
Long live the king. Hasta la vista, baby.